welcome to episode. Can you see my head in there?
Yeah.
No, that's all right, mate. That's all right. Yeah, we're good. Hello and welcome to episode 2 of the OzPower podcast.
10.
I said 2 then, didn't I? All right, here we go.
This will stay.
Do it well. Yeah. No, you did it to me last time. Last time I stuffed up an intro.
You did.
I go back about a month later and I watch the video and what the prick.
You guys are comedy act as well.
Yeah, pretty much. Hello and welcome to episode 10 of the OzPower podcast. I'm James, here with Pat. And today we're here with Dane Barclay, who is a sports psychologist from Melbourne, down the road in Ocean Grove. Is that right, mate?
Yeah, that's correct.
Excellent. So, Dane, just to touch on, we always start our episodes with just a brief bio. So, just to confirm, Bachelor of Psychology or Master's Psychology?
Yeah, Master's of Applied Psychology.
Okay, cool.
So, specialising in sport and exercise.
Yep. And with the general psychology work in mind, how long have you been doing that for?
Yeah, probably 6.5, 7 years now.
Okay,
So.
cool. And sports psychology, how did that come along?
Yeah, well, look, always been passionate about sport, played a lot of different sports growing up. And I guess it was just an extension of that, you know, really get down about people and helping people achieve where they want to get to and what that looks like. So,
Cool.
irrespective of sport.
Yep.
So, cruised on up to Queensland, got out of the comfort zone and did my Masters up there and came back to Melbourne a couple of years later and yeah, here we are.
Awesome. So started a sports psychology practice in Albert Park, is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
And you do a lot of practice out of Ocean Grove as well?
Yes.
Awesome. And I've worked with Olympic athletes, power lifters and Olympic lifters as well.
That's right.
Tennis players.
Yeah, tennis.
Golfers.
AFL. Golfers.
Everything.
Big sport.
The whole works. Beautiful. Mate, we just want to start the interview, I suppose, by getting a general overview about what sports psychology entails. I suppose from an elite level, you hear about it quite often, but there's not a great deal of knowledge about what it actually is. And people think psychologists think of the shrink on the couch kind of stuff, which it's not really about, is it? So what does it entail?
It's kind of like if we go to a party and some of the psychologists, people start edging to the door.
Oh, they want to talk to you.
And if you say I'm a sports psychologist, and I want to tell me about the favourite football team and my own experiences. And there's also a bit of mythology that sports sites are about motivating people. Mm-hmm. Actually, our role isn't about motivating. It's about removing certain tools that people use that get in the way of being able to perform under stress and pressure.
Yep.
Which is what we'll be talking about today. So historically, sports psychology and psychology sat in very, very different areas. Sports psychology originated in the USA through athletics programs. They've got a great basis of college, in college areas, etc. And it was on this premise that athletes don't have psychological issues. Right? It sounds really cool. So we didn't actually treat them as psych patients. We just treat them as people going about their day-to-day. The reality is, though, athletes are humans, right?
Yep.
And they've got their own shit going on. So it took a long time for sports psychology to, I guess, transition across to how we typically treat people and treatment programs, etc. So it's traditionally used a lot of visualising and positive self-talk. And while there, I guess, was evidence for that a long time ago, being a psychologist, you're a scientist, and things progress and things evolve. And we now know that these tools aren't necessarily helpful to sustainable development. Mm-hmm. So in this day and age, sports psychology and sports psychologists tend to use different skills from traditional sports psychology, more in line with what a traditional psychologist would use. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because you're treating human beings under stress and pressure, fundamentally.
Mm-hmm.
And be that stress and pressure of daily life, or be that in the context of sport performance.
It's fairly extreme stress and pressure as well. Like it's not just everyday work stress. I mean, if you're talking about, say, athletes in combat sports, there's always a potential for death. There's a potential for, injuries of obviously varying levels. So big stress.
Yeah, it's fascinating what shows up for people. I work with an MMA athlete, Australian champion, and he was not worried about death at all. And some listeners might be worried about putting your body in that space. He was actually worried about his looks, but also looking good when winning. So he'll get quite caught up in how he went about the process of winning versus actually just getting the job done. So everyone's got their own stuff is important to that.
Yeah.
It may not be sort of fear-based, or it might be more about really high expectations of actually going through things.
Yeah. Interesting.
It is interesting.
Yeah.
What do you find are the major differences between the individual sports setting, which I suppose our show focuses on mainly with the lifters, and a team sports setting? And when you're working with those teams, are you working with them as a group, like as a collective? If you were working with a footy club, what are the differences, I suppose?
Yeah. So fundamentally, if you're working with individuals, you're dealing and you're really unpacking, unpicking their core stories, so to speak, get in the way of them being able to execute tasks under stress and pressure. So competition, basically. In a team environment, you're really trying to help coaches facilitate that change themselves. And so you may still work with individuals in understanding their stories, where does their attention go under stress and pressure. Yeah, it's really, really helpful for the coaches to be on board and kind of know what works as well.
Yep.
To help that process as is carrying, say, the game day or whatever that may be.
Yeah.
And a lot of it, it might sound a bit hippie and woo, but a lot of it is simply about empathy and validation of emotional experiences. And we'll talk about this as we go along here. Like, the reality of sport is highly stressful. And we acknowledge that logically and intellectually, but it doesn't mean we fucking want to have it when it shows up.
Yeah.
So I often say that to the athletes I work with in the big league, if you don't want to have anxiety, don't compete with the league. Because it's going to be there. Because we have anxiety when shit actually happens to us.
Yeah.
So traditional sports psychology would sort of go down the path of let's try and remove that discomfort, let's try and be positive, let's try and suppress and push it away. It starts to become a really exhausting process, trying to remove it. And all our language in society is also really geared around that. Yeah. If you're feeling unhappy, sex, drugs, rock and roll, go on a shopping spree, go on a holiday, eat some chocolate, chase positive feelings in whatever way we can. And this is what the brain's all about. The brain's all about trying to fix problems. 1 or 2 problems every single moment of the day. How do I feel good? And how do I feel like shit?
Yeah.
And it's really focused on that. And coming back into a competition setting, that's all really problematic, because often when you're trying to get the best possible, it's highly uncomfortable.
Yep. Highly
uncomfortable, both physically and emotionally. Yet once you've done the lift, how do you feel?
Yeah.
Ecstatic, right. So it's this interesting thing where 300 million years of evolution, the oldest parts of our brain are all about trying to fix how we feel and protect us at the expense of actually what matters, which is executing behaviours which you listeners would do when you're just training. Yeah. Sorry guys, I've got mad.
You and Arthur Melbourne at the moment, I think.
Yeah. That's probably a good segue into what we were just talking about off camera. So I just brought up with you the biology of perception. Yep. That's a big interest point for me. Do you want to just give us a bit of a rundown of what you were just saying off camera and how the way that obviously you perceive the world, how that goes towards, we were saying, DNA replication and reprogramming of the brain and that sort of thing?
Yeah. So, all those sites, we kind of think of getting on the couch, you do kind of need to talk about your parents at times, because it actually informs the way that you view the world, and more importantly, how you fit into the world and how you manage your emotions under stress and pressure. Right? So, if you've learned from a young age that it's not appropriate to have strong, uncomfortable emotions, and it's either by what parents say or don't say, whenever they show up, the architecture of our brain tries to remedy that somehow. Often it might be getting really critical of ourselves, telling ourselves to harden the fuck up, or it will try and suppress a whole range of other ones. It's not always possible to think positive, and I think we all know that.
Yep.
Yet it's pushed all the fucking time. And the cynic in me says, well, what's the evidence that that's workable, sustainable for the long term? So what starts to happen there is, at a cellular level, if you're trying to be positive all the time and you recognise I'm still not feeling good here, then that becomes a problem as well. So, which stresses it out even more.
I guess if you're constantly happy with that sort of feeling, it almost breeds mediocrity, because I suppose if you're trying to tell yourself that everything's okay and you're positive and things aren't going well, a lot of the time that's a positive reinforcement for bad behaviour in a way.
Yeah, it can be. I think it doesn't necessarily breed mediocrity, because we often have anger and sadness or frustration and sadness that shows up. You know, blokes will typically display sadness or disappointment as frustration.
Yeah.
And what frustration is about is unfairness or injustice. It shows up in two ways. The first way is I'm putting all this energy and effort, be that training-wise or trying to think positive, and not getting the outcomes that I'm after. And that's highly threatening. So we know the brain hates the violation of expectations. But the other way that it shows up is whoever we're pissed off at, and at times it's ourselves, we don't understand our own emotional experiences, which is a lot of the key work that I'm on about how to help the athlete understand what's genuinely going on for them at any given point in time to get out of their head to get back on task. Yet the interesting thing is, and I talk a lot about compassion and self-compassion in my work, it's often a dirty word in this context, in elite sport. You know, it's kind of, just sympathise or pat yourself on the back, which is really patronising. Funnily enough, when we come back from a neurobiological perspective, we down-regulate cortisol and adrenaline when we're more compassionate to ourselves, but it doesn't mean that we settle for less. So we can still pursue things really, really vigorously, but hold it lightly when we don't quite meet certain expectations. And this is what our brain's good at doing. Like, if we're brought up in environments where how do we get the best out of ourselves, or get really fucking critical, that feels as though it should work all the time, but it's not sustainable if anything you go more internal, particularly under stress and pressure. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Really interesting stuff. Just, you touched on it, especially the way blokes, I suppose, deal with a lot of things, anger and frustration. What about the sexes? What are there's obviously going to be differences. Women are obviously probably a bit freer with expressing emotions. We tend to bottom them up a little bit, us blokes. Do you think that has a difference? Or
Yeah, fundamentally. So let's go back to sort of caveman times. Women all about all about sort of the gathering, not the hunting. So they sit in small communities and talk and converse, whether they'll, picking nuts and berries. So we bring that into the 21st century in Australia, and we tend to see that women have a lot more capacity to talk about how they're feeling. Now, why that is useful is because it doesn't necessarily solve a problem that they've got going on, but they feel heard and feel understood, and it helps them get out of their head a little bit. Men, though, and be that evolutionary wise or be that just from your own upbringing, we learn that it's not appropriate to talk about emotions. We're all really, really internal. And then we're more up in our head because we're kind of like, I don't want to have this discomfort, right? Frustration, stories about not being good enough, things that happened in the past, the unfairness of things, the concern about, I really want to perform well this coming weekend. It's hard to get out of our heads. Yet if we don't talk through it, we're just going to be more up in our heads. And that's part of the problem. This is kind of where that compassion and the talk to athletes about finding someone to talk to. And it might be me, but I much prefer that they do it to people that they get down about. Because they're the people that matter in the individual's life. So I sort of bang on a lot about empathy and validation, but even self-empathy or self-validation. And I'm a big believer that you don't know what you're getting caught up in. You've got no control over your behaviours, stress and pressure. And the only thing we get to control is our behaviours. Not just when we feel good, which is really easy, but when it's shit showing up.
Yeah. Going back to the team sport thing before we start pushing on with more, I suppose, powerlifting, strength-focused, individual sports stuff, the one thing that's fascinated me about, especially at the elite level, coaches in team environments is man management, and the fact that this stuff that you're saying, if it's a one-on-one individual athlete, that's all good and well, but when I've got to manage 40 grown men in that environment, what's the secret there? I mean, it probably isn't a secret, but is it just, I suppose, applying these things you're saying to each and every one and understanding some respond to this differently to that? And
the best way you get to do that is check in with the individual from a really practical perspective. The way I'm talking to you right now isn't working for you. If it's not, let me know we can do it differently. And it's actually a tough conversation. Because blokes don't typically inquire about, hey, how are you feeling about how I'm talking about stuff? It's a bit airy-fairy. But we're trying to come from a really pragmatic perspective of the workability of a particular communication style.
Okay.
And all you're trying to do is get them to give you useful information back so you can do it differently if it's not working.
Yeah, cool.
But fundamentally, if you're at a competition, a coach or a spouse for the listeners or whoever's there as your support crew, if you can't get yourself out of your head, then it's helpful for them to be able to help you get out of your head.
Yeah, cool.
It's one of those things. There's no universal fix. Is there? Everyone's different, so it's a case by case basis.
That's it. That's it.
You see the thing with coaches, I think being a huge footy fan and being in that environment, you see there's coaches that come into the role, young fellas, happy as Larry, big grins, give them 12 months of coaching in that environment, they're grey, tearing their hair out, throwing phones and punching walls sort of thing.
Yeah.
So it's a fair challenge, isn't it? Yeah. Challenging coaching that environment.
And we get upset because things matter, right?
Yep.
And we actually, at times, put our needs, not because of selfishness necessarily, but we put our needs ahead at the expense of actually what is useful.
Yep.
Because our brain is trying to fix how we feel. So often we get pissed off at others because we're trying to, I've been told you this X amount of times.
Like
why don't you just do it?
A survival technique.
Yeah.
I suppose, put yourself first.
Yeah. And it's tough to do because our brain wants to fix how we feel.
Yeah.
So it's a never-ending process of being more aware of what you get caught up into to affect really good change in people. Yeah. And actually getting back on task.
Yeah.
So this is really all about task-focused attention. Yeah. It's this interesting thing though. Most clients that come in will kind of detail, well, I've tried to stop thinking about things, I've tried to forget about it, I don't want to have these experiences, I want to get rid of my anxiety. And we go through a couple of different screening kind of tools and fundamentally get to, well, what have you done to do that?
Yeah.
And we come to the conclusion that the evidence is you can't stop thoughts and you can't stop feelings. At least long term anyway. I'll try and prove it to you. Do you guys do coffee?
Oh yeah.
I'm sure most of your listeners do. At times at least anyway. So for the next 10 seconds, whatever you do, I want you not to think about coffee.
I'm stuffed. Yeah, I'm stuffed already.
Exactly right. So this is what kind of goes on. And so even though the cup of coffee is a neutral thought or something that we like, our brain has to think about it to know that it's still got it. So when it comes to things that we don't want to experience, sadness, frustration, concerns about the future, worries about the past, the more that we don't want to have it,
The more it pops up.
the more it shows up,
Yeah,
the more on ahead we are. So this is a really interesting thing. If we're trying to teach positive thinking or trying to control, then actually that makes us more inconsistent when it comes to competition. Because our brain is all about fixing how we feel first, at the expense of getting all the tasks.
Yeah.
This might seem like a vague question, but bear with me for a second.
Second.
So I know, obviously, as I was saying before, you have to deal with people on a case-by-case basis. Everyone's different. Therefore, it's not going to be a hard answer. But how long do you normally see people for? So what's the process? I suppose what are you looking for as an end result? Is this something that like when someone comes to see you as a professional athlete, are they expected to continue that over a long period of time? Like, what are you trying to get out of treatment?
Yeah. So typically, we'll set up a framework, the scaffolding of self-knowledge in the first 3, 4, 5 weeks. Really getting clear on what works in high performance, what just works in performance and stuff. Yeah. Then it's probably more about maintenance. Yeah. And it might be catching up fortnightly, it might be catching up monthly, every couple of months, or it might be when shit shows up.
Yeah, cool.
But it's almost about putting work in, like any skill set. This is a skill set. Yeah. Rather than calling up work for a competition, give you some tips and tricks.
Yeah.
Because it actually takes a lot of energy and effort to rewire your brain. Yeah. 20 or 30, well, you've roughly had 17 or 27 years of operating in a particular way. And we're trying to change. We're trying to change some really old stories about how you manage your emotions. Yeah. And as a science, that's what it's all about, thoughts and feelings. We've got to go there, we've got to talk about that stuff. And blokes aren't always great at that. Yeah. It's always done for a really, really good purpose.
I suppose there's no real specifics in terms of the sport of the person that comes to see you either, because fears are fears. Everyone has their own fears. It could be the same sport and they could be vastly different reasons why they're not performing.
Correct. And, I'm not a coach.
Yeah.
I know nothing about
You
sports.
don't need to know the sport
I don't
necessarily.
know the sport.
Yeah.
It's how I help you get out of here and get that on the
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
irrespective of the sport.
Yeah.
And that's what this is all about, so that behavioural change.
Yeah.
And part of that for the listeners is, the counterintuitive thing is teaching people to not control what they think you feel.
Yeah.
Actually, if you don't control what you think you'll feel, you actually have more control. But the brain is wired to try and control what you think you feel.
Yeah.
Because it all see things as a threat.
Yeah.
Not lifting what you want to lift for the day. There might be judgments from yourself and judgments from other people.
Yeah.
You really spend a lot of energy and effort trying to get around that stuff. But it actually keeps us from performing with consistency.
Yeah.
Do you find that there's a certain point where you see these things rear their head? Like coming into competition is obviously going to be stressful. The athlete's sort of buried in their training blocks or whatever. Yeah. Is it a couple of weeks out from a comp that or a few weeks out, or there's no real consistency? It's just each individual is different?
Yeah, look, basically the bigger the comp,
yeah, cool.
the bigger the threat.
Yeah, cool.
The chat that shows up for people.
Yep.
So if they've already done a good body of work, then we might only have half an hour conversation and just look at a couple of things. Otherwise, if they haven't done the body of work, then we spend a bit more time assessing how they're trying to cope with it and looking at the workability of that.
Yeah, cool. Is there something that you see consistently in that upper echelon? You get a lot of people that have got all the ability in the world, but they just can't do it on the day. You see other guys that obviously can combine the ability with that mental strength and toughness that they've got. And, I don't think there's any bigger event on earth than the Olympics and Usain Bolt lining up for 100, like all that pressure that's 4 years of preparation for 10 seconds. That has always done my head in watching it. How do you deal with that?
Yeah.
Is there something that, the guy that's blessed with talent but can't control that and the guy that can, is there something that you consistently see there?
Yeah. It's just really interesting listening to how you describe that. 10 seconds, really evocative and really emotional.
Yep.
And I don't know what you listen to for a day job, but for some people it's just a job.
Yeah.
They just might be genetically gifted.
Yep.
And, that's always going to hold them in great stead. They're less concerned about the competition because they've got the embodied evidence that they're competent.
Yeah, cool.
A lifetime.
So the notion of competence is really, really important. And competence is being able to do the actions of something time and time again. So you update your reality that you're skilled at something, so that when it comes into bigger moments, and we've got to remember our brains are really good at dismissing certain things. So we might think we're competent, but if we've got a story that we're not good enough or they're really good enough, our brain will keep searching for evidence to confirm that stuff to be true.
Okay.
I might have stories of I want to fuck up or I really need to lift this one well, or whether those thoughts are right or wrong, how do they actually help you do the task of lifting? And they don't.
Yeah.
Yet they feel right. So a lot of the work is around, for those who struggle in those contexts, becoming more accepting of that discomfort and emotionally accepting.
Okay.
So we can intellectually accept that shit's going to show up, but again, it doesn't mean that we want to have it. And the other thing that really separates the elite end is they've got a really clear driver behind why they do what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And often always when we're under stress and pressure, our behaviours shift away to, call it emotionally driven behaviour, and move away from value driven behaviour. And when we're more in contact with what we stand for, call it our philosophy, our code, or whatever we should call that, it makes it easier for us to have the discomfort that shows up. So, again, a lot of the work at the elite end is about how do I help you keep pursuing what matters because of what you stand for. Yeah. And it's about becoming more comfortable with your discomfort. And be that from a pain and fatigue perspective, or be that from an emotional perspective of anxiety, frustration, or concern and judgments from others, or judgments for yourself, of not reaching your certain expectations. When you know what you stand for, you've got a clearer guide to keep pursuing things really, really vigorously. And it actually helps you get out of your head.
It's a good one. All right, I reckon that's a pretty good seg into our sport as well, or the sport that we kind of specialise in the most. Strength sports athletes, some of the approaches that you would recommend, and we've got the whiteboard going, so feel free to go for it.
Yeah.
What do you reckon?
Well, I'll put it to you guys. What is the emotional experience of powerlifters? And maybe think about it from your own careers, or maybe what the listeners will go through. I'm going to write some of that up in the board.
Cool.
What do we have?
Most commonly anger.
Anger?
Yeah.
Okay. Anger.
Adrenaline.
Yeah. What's over here? Anything else?
Emotion.
Is there sadness?
Sadness can fuel
I
it, I
suppose
think,
it could be.
sometimes.
Whether we feel like that's another story, but I
Yep.
suspect there's sadness there.
Yep.
Is there anxiety?
Always.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Alright. Is there embarrassment?
Yeah, it could be for missed lifts and things like that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Sometimes it's just general joy for it as well.
Right, this is great. So the joy, it's not just the shit stuff that shows up, it's really good stuff too. Yep.
So I guess a sense of accomplishment.
Yep. Alright. Anything else?
It's a pretty good start.
Yeah, pretty good start.
I reckon that someone will pop up.
Yeah. Which ones of those emotions don't you want to have?
Anxiety for starters.
Right, okay. Anxiety, sadness,
Embarrassment.
Yeah.
anger.
Sometimes anger can be helpful.
Right, we'll unpack that as we go along.
Okay.
Why don't you want to have those emotions?
Because they leave you feeling shit.
Yeah, right. Okay. So, I would say to you, if that stuff's going to show up, if that's actually the genuine experience, why do we try and get rid of it?
Yeah.
What's the purpose of that? And at what cost?
Okay.
At what cost? Why is anger sometimes good and sometimes not good, by the way?
From the good perspective, I suppose, with lifting, a lot of the time anger almost turns off the other three you've got there.
Yeah.
So anger almost silences the doubt, the voices, the sadness, the anxiety, because you just want to go.
Right.
It's that fight or flight.
Yeah, totally. When doesn't it work for you?
When doesn't anger work for you?
Yeah, because you said at times it can, at times it doesn't. Probably understand that.
I don't like walking into the gym angry. Obviously, before a lift, if I'm trying to do something that's fairly heavy, anger can sometimes fuel that, get me pumped up. But I don't want to walk into the gym angry.
Why not? What happens to your focus?
Foggy.
Yeah,
Just
changes your
can't
focus.
focus
You don't
on
think
what's at
clearly.
hand. Yeah.
Right, okay, so this is what we're coming back to. Your focus and your attention. Yep. Part of what I try and do with people is whatever shows up, how do we help you from that sort of stuff? Right? So the stuff's got to be there. But really blunt. It's really fucking exhausting. Trying to get rid of it all the time.
Yep.
It's actually a waste of your fucking time.
Yeah.
So when it does show up, how do we help you get out of your head and get back on what matters? And one of the best ways I can explain it is like this. Actually, we're going to use a prop for a moment.
Yep.
See if this works. Normally I do this with a bit of rope when you use a bottle.
Okay.
I'm going to get you hold on to this. So, Pat, you're you.
Yeah.
I'm going to be your mind. I can be anger, frustration, sadness. Doesn't matter what I am.
Okay.
In between you and me is a big black pit.
Right.
And that's where you go when your performance is like shit. Okay, and feel shit as well. Now, your gums are clearly bigger than mine.
I've got the slippery end there.
He's already making excuses.
That's the only thing to hold on to.
Yeah.
Alright. So, for those listening to this, we've both got hold of, let's say, an infector rope. Okay? Now, when I talk about focus, focus is having your eyes and your mind on one thing.
Okay.
And often our eyes are somewhere, and our head's elsewhere.
Yeah.
Right? Coming back to anger, sadness, anxiety, concerns about the future. So, I'm going to look at James right now. So James is you performing really well.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. And all of a sudden, in training or in comp, an uncomfortable thought or feeling shows up.
Mm-hmm.
Where does your attention go?
Back here.
Back to me, back to the thought and the feeling that you don't want to have.
Right.
Now you try and get rid of that somehow. You might do that by having a crack at yourself or telling yourself how to fuck up or however we typically do that.
Yeah.
And while you're up in your head, what's happening to your performance?
Yeah, it's going shit. It's getting neglected.
Right. It probably makes you feel even fucking worse.
Mm.
So when you keep having this struggle, right? Back and forth, you're more up in your head, more up in your head, more up in your head.
Right.
What can you do with me right now to make it easier for you to focus on James's performance?
Just let go.
Let go. Love it. Let's do it. Letting go.
Yeah.
Now, people bang on about that term all the time.
Yeah.
Let me walk you through.
Okay.
Try and get your focus back on to James.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Performing really well. Right?
Yeah.
Now, I'm still here. I'm still this uncomfortable thought and feeling that constantly shows up.
Yeah.
Anxiety, doubt, whatever you wish to call that. Pain, fatigue.
Yeah.
And I can get really loud. But can I pull you into that hole now where you feel like shit?
No.
Is it easier for you to focus on James? So,
Yep.
so you're not
Yep.
investing energy in it, trying to get rid of your discomfort.
Yep.
Okay. So this is what this is all about. The more we try and get rid of what we think and what we feel, so control,
Mm-hmm.
the less control we have over behaviours that count towards our performance. Right. But if you don't know what you get caught up in, you've got no capacity to do it in the moment as it's occurring.
Yeah.
And that's why I want to talk about anger there. It's not sustainable.
Yes.
Mm.
It might feel as though it works at times.
Yeah.
But if you can get yourself angry all the time, well, we wouldn't be a psychologist.
Yeah.
You'll be performing the way you want to perform. So this is the evidence base, right? The notion of letting go is a really interesting one because we use that language, as I said. Just let go. And what I don't mean is, I don't mean don't worry about it. I don't mean, I don't mean just carry on.
Yeah.
We're coming back to this notion of acceptance.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm just going to draw something up on the board just to help make sense of it. Over here. One end we've got control, the other end we've got avoidance. So what we're trying to do as athletes is avoid discomfort. It makes sense. Get critical of ourselves. We might avoid pain so we don't push as hard. Might be a whole range of things, right? We've got to move from control and avoidance. And we've got emotional acceptance, which I've already said. Of these things that show up.
Yep.
So if we genuinely accept that it's going to be there, all of a sudden we're no longer struggling with it, we're no longer up in our head. But it doesn't mean that we like the experience. Willingness. This is a key. Your willingness to have these experiences, when they show up under stress and pressure, helps you get on with tasks. And the only reason anyone is willing to have these strong emotions and thoughts and pain experiences and fatigue experiences is because of what they stand for. And that's what builds confidence. And that's what builds confidence. So, the hardest thing I try and get people to do is actually remove some of the skills they've learned to try and fix how they feel. So they don't have to fix anymore. Because I want your athletes to feel good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is the need to feel good. The need.
Okay.
Because we're really well aware of every time we don't feel good, that's a problem to solve at the expense of the execution of tasks.
Yeah. So get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Love it. And we can say that until the cows come home, but until we're willing to feel things emotionally that we don't like, that's the change and that's the shift for people.
And it's an important one in powerlifting and strength sports because
a very uncomfortable sport.
some of the stuff that these guys have to do is uncomfortable. So, goal setting and internal drivers. We speak to a lot of the athletes that we've interviewed about goal setting, internal drivers, visualization, how they get themselves up for a lift and a comp.
Yep.
What are your approaches to that?
Yeah. So you probably want to really check in on the purpose and the intent behind your goals and even the purpose and the intent behind visualization. Right? So if you're basically coming back to this notion of if you're setting goals to feel good, so that's the actual driver, then our mood's going to really fluctuate every time we don't hit those goals. We get more critical of ourselves versus our goals in line with what we stand for, which actually helps us be more resilient or mentally tough or again, whatever one you want to use. We're a lot more stable emotionally. We're less critical of ourselves. That when we do fail, we're a bit more accepting of that. Even though we don't like it, it helps us get out of our head a bit more consistently and keep pursuing those things we do. So yeah, and we come back to the notion of SMART goals as well, specific and measurable, achievable, timely.
Yeah, what's the R? I always forget the R as well.
I think
realistic or something.
Realistic.
Yeah, really.
Like achievable. And pretty much, I don't ever set goals necessarily.
Yep. Okay.
Actually, I probably don't. It's more about are your behaviours in line with your values. So we do a lot of work around that. From a visualisation perspective, if you're trying to visualise to get yourself in a happy space, I contend that that's an issue because you can't always feel happy or comfortable or confident in competition settings. So all you're teaching yourself and all you're wiring yourself to do is to fix how you feel. It's still that version of control. Yet if you're visualising a lift, not to feel good, but to I guess do the best lift that you can.
Break down the movement.
Break down the process.
Yeah, cool.
We hear that all the time, process goals.
Yep.
Yeah, process. Yeah. And there's a lot of validity to that. You focus on the process, the outcome will look after itself. Yet as human beings, we love to focus on the outcomes.
So
because that's about feeling good. I really want to be clear on that.
Yeah.
So from a skill perspective, be aware of getting caught up in the outcomes.
Yeah.
To bring your attention back to the task.
So you would say more if you're going to visualise on the outcome or on what you're doing rather than visualise emotion. So don't visualise, for example, you said to get happy or to get angry or motivate yourself that way.
How does that actually help you lift when you visualise the emotions?
Or as I was saying before, going back to that fight or flight response, a lot of the time it just turns off that, I guess, what's going on in your head.
And is it always possible to do that?
No, of course not.
Right. So, without being all patronising here, just like to be really clear on that. And that fight or flight response, both of those, and we often think the fight is getting angry, but sometimes we might live too quickly, right? That's one way, or we might avoid, we might shut down. Both of those are this notion of experiential avoidance. We're trying to fix how we feel. And we want somewhere in the middle. We want to be consistent with our process, irrespective of what shows up. Yeah. And not about trying to chase a particular feeling of anger or to get through something. Yeah.
Interesting. We've touched on energy a couple of times, and I just want to clarify something from my own understanding and the listeners.
Yeah.
I think some people, personally, I've had a tendency to do it, separate physical and mental energy, I suppose. But one and the same thing, right? So anything that we're committing to this is only going to affect your physical energy to be able to pick up that weight.
100%.
Yeah, cool. 100%. Cool.
So I'll try and give some other metaphors. Pain and fatigue, 100% is driven by the brain. All right? I'm going to use this pen. We're going to pretend it's a knife. If I stab you through the leg right now, where does your attention go? Right there. Right. And you've got some tissue damage now, so to speak. Yeah. So what are you feeling?
Pain.
Right. So what would you do? You just
scream for
he'd cry.
Would you just sit there? No. Or would you smash me in the face?
Well, I'd definitely react.
Yeah. Smash me in the face and probably, either want to stab me back or whatever.
Yeah.
Now,
I probably want to stop the pain.
Yeah.
Would be one of the first things, so pull the knife or whatever.
Yeah. So what you do first of all is ensure that you're safe.
Yeah.
Right? So the hierarchy is always about physical safety.
Yeah.
So as you pull the knife out and start stabbing me, or at least exiting this room, and then your attention will shift away from the pain to fix how you feel. Then as soon as you feel safe, your attention shifts back to the pain experience. Yet in that time, you're not focusing on the tissue injury, right? So the hardest thing that we try to do is is help athletes understand that pain is a construct of the brain. It feels real, so it's always real. But your brain gets to choose, depending on what's going on, whether it's appropriate to feel it or not. Right. It's why people can fall off cliffs and break both legs and not have any pain. We talk about the adrenaline and all that sort of stuff. So there's significant tissue damage. And they call and get their satellite phone, see their helicopter coming. Right? The brain goes, safe. That's when the pain experience comes. Okay. Some of the listeners may have heard of phantom limb pain, where we don't actually have a limb, yet we've still got pain experiences. So you can actually have no tissue, or no tissue damage, and experience pain, yet you can have significant tissue damage and not feel pain. So when it comes to fatigue and pain, we've got something like we use, it's called a protect by pain line. So pain doesn't mean damage. And I think this is really, really crucial for you, particularly in this sport. It's actually about an early warning system. And you've got the protect by pain line, which is a little bit lower than where the tissue threshold damage is. When you injure yourself, and I think we're going to speak about injury later on, but I'll just cut to it here. You injure yourself, well, the protect by pain line is really, really low. It comes on super quick because your brain knows that you don't want to injure yourself. Now, this is, in some sense, is your brain working really well. It's doing exactly what it's designed to do, to protect you. But it doesn't actually help you.
From a performance.
Because you actually nowhere near re-injuring yourself again. But that's not how we interpret the pain experience. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, 100%.
So again, 100%, it's your brain driving the pain experience or the fatigue experience. And pain is always caught up, it's always made up of what's your own relationship to pain, your narrative around what it means. So kind of like, it might be a violinist will feel more pain if they get a paper cut than a soccer player because of what it means to use their finger. The meaning is really important behind this. We know some other interesting things about pain that we can do some experiments with people and we can put like a really hot electrode on someone, right, and give it a red light, and it's even hotter, so the red triggers symbolism off in the brain, but we give it a blue light at the same temperature, and it's cooler, people will interpret it, even though it's the exact same temperature, except in Italy. Right, except in Italy. And why that is different is because why blue significant in Italy if you care for sport?
That's what isn't it the colour they wear? Like it's
love it.
Soccer team.
Right, love it. Soccer team, highly emotional.
Right.
Give it Italian blue light, but they rank it as higher. So the brain's really amazing.
It's incredible, isn't it?
So 100% of the time, the brain gets to choose when you experience pain. I do want to say to your listeners though that the pain experience is real as you're experiencing it, and we get to help to know the intensity of the experience and the duration and the frequency. Similarly with emotions, that's the work here. How do you help you not fix what you're feeling in service of what you're saying?
Well, let's segue this into injury because obviously a topic we want to touch on in powerlifting and in strength sports. Geez, there wouldn't be too many athletes that go into competition having not experienced one or having a niggle. Even, you get to that stage in the AFL season, probably around now, coming into finals, and you hear about niggles. Everyone's got one. No one's perfectly fit at this stage. Both psychologically and actually dealing with the injury, what are the effects that you see there? Or what are some of the techniques that people can apply?
Yeah, look, so if you want to go down a technique path, we use a lot of mindfulness. So not meditation, but mindfulness to help experience what's showing up and getting back on task. I'm going to keep reiterating the same thing. There's not necessarily, we don't throw a lot of techniques at people because typically techniques are about control and removal of discomfort. Yet again, the reality is you're going to have pain and niggles. Are you willing to experience it in service of what matters? So we sort of really keep coming back to this provides time and time again. There's no magic formula to it. It's really about how much are you willing to experience in service of what matters.
What about the psychological impact of athletes? Because especially at the elite level, if you're training for something that to you is vitally important. You get injured, it can lead to depression. It can lead, you hear a lot of people go through some really tough times dealing with injuries because they are so goal focused or whatever, and it derails them. What about in that space? You see that often?
Yeah, I mean, that's really, really tough for people, isn't it? And your listeners, your experience, a significant injury that stopped you from moving forward for what matters. We're pursuing these things because we really value them. A lot of the work is kind of validating the sadness of the experience. You can't fix what's going on, right? But you can hear the person about that, about the injustice because it wasn't what they expected or whatever shows up for them. And again, this is kind of where we come back to empathy and validation. You can't fix the actual issue at hand, but it helps people get out of their head a bit or turn down the intense experience. And blokes, I'm sure it's not all blokes listening to this, but primarily guys just want to deal with it internally. They might want to burden people, right? Sick telling us their own story. That sort of thing that shows up for individuals.
Yep.
Actually, the most useful thing you can do is find somebody you trust and talk through it with the hope that they'll validate your experience without trying to fix what you're feeling. Because you know what it's like when someone's, oh mate, that must be so tough. Why don't you do that? Or why don't you do this? And you're like, oh, I don't. And you fix it from hurt. So that's how we kind of work through those periods of time with people. Again, it's that compassion and empathy and validation, which is a hard thing to do for yourself, I think. I think we all struggle with that at times because it's easy to get critical of blokes. So tell yourself how to fuck up.
Stress and anxiety in everyday life. Powerlifting's not a pro sport. Some might make a little bit of money, but certainly not enough to pay the bills. So it's those everyday stresses, whether it's financial, problems with the missus or the spouse, the husband, whatever, can obviously have a pretty big impact on your performance on comp day and through training cycles as well.
Yeah,
thoughts on that?
It's tricky, isn't it? When you're pursuing something and you've got a life outside of it, right? And it's a bit of a lifestyle sport, you've got to really commit to it, don't you? The way that you eat, the way that you train, timings of that, if you've got family or other commitments, it's difficult. I think the best thing that I've spoken about is ensuring that you've got support from the family, that you can't compel them to always agree with your approach or your timing thing, and actually becoming a bit more kind of accepting of that. That at times, it's going to bring a whole heap of shit for you, because that's daily life, right? Daily life. So if there's anxiety or stress, talk to the person that it's relevant to, if you can, or that will impact. Right, so we keep coming back to talking about things. It's actually the most useful thing we can do because humans we're social creatures. But if you talk to someone, and particularly if your training is getting in the way of things at home, at least you can then sort through the workability of how you've done about things, whether it's working with them or whether they can do something with it as well. We're really good at not arming people with useful information. It's comfortable or a fight, or, you just don't want to create waves, you just want to get on whether it's important to you. I think in these sorts of sports, there's always an impact on the wider circle. And you guys live it as well. I'm sure you know what that's like. And that support will fluctuate from time to time. As in, people are always inherently supportive. But it's just about whether it's working with them on any given day or weekend. Whatever that may be.
Especially with the food. The missus hates it when I say, no, we've got to eat chicken and rice again, mate.
Now what's your say?
The role of the coach. So I mentioned it earlier, and we did touch on coaching a little bit earlier. What are your thoughts on the role of the coach, especially in an individual setting like this?
What do you guys want from your coach? You got a coach? What would you want from your coach?
It's always mainly about technique. Stuff that I can't visualise myself. So assistance with programming to make sure that, if I'm trying to peak for something or...
It's a little bit of approval too, because I think you want to know that what you're doing is right. When it comes to technique, at least.
So that reassurance. So again, we're kind of coming back to empathy and validation, checking in as a coach, going, Any feeling as though you're on the right path, you're reassuring.
Yeah.
We might like that language necessarily.
Yeah.
We might want to be soft or whatever.
Yeah.
We do seek approval from people in positions of power.
Yeah.
We want to be seen to be doing well and doing the right thing, and that can be stressful in itself if we do or not. But then we're often unwilling to have a really honest conversation about it.
Do you think it would be better for a coach to, I mean, you just said then, your example was, are you okay?
Yeah.
Would it be better for a coach to ask a question, are you okay? Or would it be better for a coach to say, you look okay? What is the better affirmation?
The latter.
The latter.
Yeah. However, if the coach suspects there's something going on, are you okay?
Yeah.
And if you're the coach and you think that your athlete isn't necessarily going to open up, because maybe not great talking about how they're feeling, or it's the context of you might be in the gym or wherever it may be, I'll be using your best guess of, you look pissed off, mate. Tell me about it. So they're actually trying to label the emotion, which actually can help the person talk through it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And get out of their head.
Right.
It doesn't mean they fix what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and often we know our gut experience is very much something going down do here. Yeah. So check in. But if you think they're okay, just tell them do fine. Yeah. Fantastic.
Yep.
How much importance do you put on a coach in, I know you've worked with the AFL-PA.
Yeah.
How much importance do you place on a coach on a team? So, for example, we were having a conversation on the way down here. I'm a Richmond supporter. They're saying they're doing really well this season. They haven't done well for quite a while, despite the fact that they've had a decent roster. We were talking about the role of the coach and the office and that sort of thing at the club. How much of a role do you place on a coach in terms of success for a team?
Oh, significant. Yeah, significant. We don't know what the mechanisms of change are for Dimmer.
Yeah.
We're talking about Richmond here.
Yeah.
But clearly something's transitioned for them this year. Again, me not being a coach, I don't know anything about strategy or techniques, etc. Whatever sport. I guess the question is, what is he fostering? What is any coach fostering in the environment they set up? Right? And remember, athletes don't want to fail. So what do the athletes learn when they do fail? Again, it depends on how you set the environment up. About the appropriateness or not the appropriateness of that. So coaches, even from a psychological perspective, are the biggest drivers of language you use for psychological safety. How can the coach help athletes take positive risks with their behaviour in service of what they stand for, whilst experiencing discomfort, and when they do fail or make errors, how do we help reset them and get them back on?
Yeah, cool.
Taking those positive risks again. Where their levels of confidence are.
Okay. Environment's an interesting one too, because especially like the AFL's a good one. Culture. That's all you hear about, the culture.
Yeah.
I'm a corporate guy, 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, and we hear about it all the time. That culture, and it impacts the way you work. If the culture's not good, if you don't like the manager, the coach, or whoever it is, are you as willing to go that extra level for them? If the culture's good and they're promoting and harnessing and fostering something that's pretty positive and enjoyable,
valued. And sometimes as coaches or as family, we can be dismissive or whatever that may be. So how do you keep valuing the individual? It's something about checking in. How do you piss off there? I'm right with that. No, just you hang on. That's what creates value. And that's actually how you lead someone. That they'll come along with you for the ride. Clearly, as coaches, if you're listening, you're going to have your expertise. Probably will be recommended, I presume, which is great. How do you maintain people coming along with you on your journey with them? Get you value.
Yeah, cool.
They can feel valued.
Yeah. All right, mate, last one from me. And I know you said before we started recording that you don't like blowing your own trumpet, but I'm going to ask you to. Business plugs. How can people get in contact with you if they are looking at your services? I know you've got articles online. There's a TED Talk that you did that's on YouTube, which we will, if you're happy for us to, link through this video, because it's fantastic around the getting comfortable with discomfort type of stuff. Yeah, how do they get in touch with you?
Yeah, look, the easiest way is through the website, so www, I don't want to say that anymore, PSPC, so Charlie.com.au. And look, there'll be a bit of information on there about how we go about what we do. There's also contact details too.
Yeah.
So that's the easiest way for people to. If they want to pick up the phone and discuss a few matters, we can chat through that, or we'll get the sessions. I get there's a bit of a stigma out there of seeing psych. Hopefully I demystify a little bit of it today. And,
certainly for me.
We're not all dudes in tweed jackets and patches, beards, or what have you seen on Sopranos? And if there's really one thing that I want listeners to take away from it, it's moving away from trying to control how you feel. That genuine place of acceptance, which is an easy word to say, and it's hard to do.
Mm-hmm.
The acceptance and the willingness to do what you stand for. That's what it's all about. Knowing that this stuff of anger and sadness, anxiety, and joy, and all that stuff is going to show up in your competition environment, and help yourself get from it by practices and mindfulness, becoming really more familiar with yourself. Because if you don't know your stories, you have no control over your behaviours under stress or pressure.
Awesome. Well, we'll put links up to the pages and those sort of things. Mate, thank you very much for giving us your time today. That's been
very interesting,
so informative, and further cemented my view that the brain is incredibly fucking complex and confusing.
Yeah.
So,
thank you for making the time. And anytime you want to chat.
Beautiful.
Yeah, awesome.
Thanks, Dane.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Cheers, mate.
Pleasure.